Uh, Good evening. Good evening. Giving praise to the Most High. Uh, I thank Him for letting me be able to do this video. Um, this is what I said I wanted to do, like with a part 2 about King David's role. The Most High has given the decree to King David to redeem Israel and judge the world. It's just when Moses, who had brought Israel from Egypt. And so I just went and wrote down Isaiah chapter 48 and Isaiah 49. So I just wanted to add this in because the thing is on Hosea 3 and 5, God always say, look for him and David. So right now I'm doing things, writing scriptures down according to the prophet Isaiah that speaks about the Most High and David. What are the responsibilities, the obligation that's going to be fulfilled for the future to come when Israel is being delivered. And I want to start off reading Isaiah 48, verse 1. It says, hear ye this, O house of Jacob, which I call by the name of Israel. And I'll come forth out of the waters of Judah, which swear by the name of the Lord, and make mention of the God of Israel, but not in truth, nor in righteousness. For they call themselves of the holy city and stay themselves upon the God of Israel. The Lord of hosts is his name. I have declared the former things from the beginning, and they went forth out of my mouth, and I showed them. I did them suddenly, and they came to pass. Because I knew that thou art obstinate, and thy neck is as an iron of sinew, and thy brow brass, I have even from the beginning declared to thee before it came to pass. I showed it thee, lest thou shouldest say, my idol have done them, and my graven images and my molten image have commanded thee. Thou hast heard, see all this, and will not ye declare it. I have showed thee new things from this time, even hidden things, and thou didst not know them. They are created now, and not from the beginning, even before the day when thou heardest them not, lest thou shouldest say, behold, I knew them. Ye thou heardest not, ye thou knewest not, ye from that time that thy ear was not open, for I knew that thou wouldst deal very treacherously, and was called a transgressor from the womb. For my name's sake will I defer my anger, and for my praise will I refrain for thee, but I cut thee not off. Behold, I have refined thee, but not for silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. For my own sake, even for my own sake will I do it. For how should my name be polluted, and I will not give my glory unto another? Hearken unto me, O Jacob, and Israel my call. I am he, I am the first, I also am the last. My hand also have laid the foundation of the earth, and my right hand have spanned the heavens. When I called unto them, they stand up together. All ye assemble, right? So check this out. When I read verse 14, and we're going to read from verse 14 to 17, this is another person talking with because when you read from Isaiah 48 and 1 through 13, God is giving confirmation to Israel and about what's going on with them. And God said that he would not, he said he would defer his anger from Israel, that he will refine them as silver. When you read verse 14, it said, all ye assemble yourselves and hear which among them have declared these things. The Lord have loved him. He will do his pleasure on Babylon, and his arm shall be on the Chaldeans. I, even I, have spoken. Ye have called him. I have brought him, and he shall make his way prosperous. Come ye near unto me, hear ye this. I have not spoken in secret from the beginning. From the time that it was, there am I, and now the Lord God in the Spirit have sent me. So with this being said, that I feel that it is King David. It's Hosea 3:5 refers to looking for the Most High and King David in the latter days, and the responsibility that is given to David is what the Most High is going to use him to deliver Israel, not only to deliver Israel, but to bring judgment on the world. And with this one in Isaiah 48, he's talking about judging Babylon, the Chaldeans, right here from 48:14 through 17. So if you ever go back to 2 Samuel 22, from that chapter on, David is referring to himself, and it's called a song of praise of what David had sung to the Most High about all the wonderful works that he had done for David throughout his fleeing from his enemies. So the thing is, what we looking at with this testimony is that David's obligation is to not only judge the heathen and the rest of the world, but to also to deliver his people. And I'm gonna read that in Isaiah 49. And if you, I want to continue this in 48 and 17. Thus saith the Lord, the Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. I am the Lord thy God, which teacheth thee to profit, which leadeth thee by the way that thou shalt go. Oh, that thou hast hearkened to my commandments. Then had thy peace been as a river, and thy righteousness as the wave of the sea. Thy seed also had been as the sand, and the offspring was thy bowels like the gravel thereof. His name should not have been cut off, nor destroyed from before me. Go ye forth of Babylon, flee ye from the Chaldeans with a voice of singing. Declare ye, tell this, uttered it even to the end of the earth. Say ye, the Lord redeemed his servant Jacob, and they redeemed his servant Jacob, and they thirsted not when he led them through the desert. He caused the waters to flow out of the rock for them. He clad the rock also, and the waters gushed out. There is no peace, saith the Lord, unto the wicked. Now check this out. When you read Isaiah 48:21, he says that they thirst when he led them through the desert. He caused the waters to flow out of the rock. For them he clad the rock also, and the waters gushed out. Every time when the Most High speaks, he's giving a testimony of what occurred previously. So when you look at that verse right there, you go back to Exodus 17, when Israel was thirsting for water, God told Moses to strike the rock, which he did, but he did not exalt the Most High's name during that time. So this is talking about during the time that when Moses was bringing Israel through the wilderness, uh, through the land of Meribah. So God always going to speak about the things that he did. And the same way when you look about David, David's going to talk about all the things he's been through and how the Most High has delivered them from all his atrocities. And then he's going to give reverence to what the Most High is prophesying, what is he to do in the latter days is what's going to come about. So this was just an add-on to what it is I just read. And then the thing about when you read about Isaiah 49, Isaiah is completely different. And because with that being in Isaiah 48, we hear about the Most High talking, and then we see in Isaiah 48, verse 14 through 17, David is referring to what the Most High is allowing him to do. And this one, you're going to hear about David going to speak, the Most High, and then he's going to reverence Israel, the nation, right? So Isaiah 49:1, it said, listen, O owls, unto me, and hearken ye people from far. The Lord have called me from the womb, from the bowels of my mother, have he made mention of my name. So with this being said, a lot of people don't know that King David was prophesied, right? So when you go into the book of Genesis 49, Jacob talks about Judah and the 8th through the 12th verse. And then Numbers, the 24th chapter, you see 1 through 17 that Balaam was prophesied about David. But then when you read in the book of Ruth, Ruth actually gives David's name. And David is not even yet born. So in Isaiah 49:1, it said, listen, O owls, unto me, and hearken ye people from far. The Lord have called me from the womb, and from the bowels of my mother have he made mention of my name. Now, remember this, in 2 Samuel 22, what I will always go back to, because when you read verse 44 and 46, David tells you that when the nation is going to serve him in 2 Samuel 22, right? So this is 2 Samuel 22. And this is why I always go back there, because the thing is, you only hear about David's name mentioned one time and his responsibilities. Now, throughout all Isaiah, whenever you hear about the stranger or it's talking about the Gentiles, we know that the owls of the Gentiles are the line of Japheth in Genesis 10, right? So this is what it's talking about in 2 Samuel 22. You go right here, and if you'll notice who's speaking in the first verse in 2 Samuel 22, it says, and David spake unto the Lord the words of this song, and the day that the Lord hath delivered him out of the hands of all his enemies and out of the hand of Saul. So David is speaking about all of the atrocities, about what he went through and how the Most High was with him when he was fleeing from Saul or fleeing from Absalom, and how the Most High protected him during these times that he was fleeing. So when you go to verse 44 through 46 again, he said, thou also hast delivered me from the strivings of my people. Thou hast kept me to be head of the heathen. A people which I knew not shall serve me. As soon as they hear, they shall be obedient unto me. Strangers shall fade away, and they shall be afraid out of their close places. Right? The Lord liveth, and blessed be my rock, and exalted be the God of the rock of my salvation. It is God that avenged me, and that bringeth down the people under me, and that bringeth me forth from my enemies. Thou hast lifted me up on high above them that rose up against me. Thou hast delivered me from the violent men. Therefore I will give thanks unto thee, O Lord, among the heathen, and I will sing praises unto thy name. He is the tower of salvation for his king, and show mercy to his anointed, unto David, and to his seed forevermore. So this is David saying what God has done for him, and he said that he will always sing praise to the Most High, and that he will sing amongst the heathen. So when you see what it says, oh, listen, no owls unto me, right? We could go back to Genesis 10 and see what that is referring to, and you'll see that it's referring to the line of Japheth. Genesis 10, it says, we start what? Okay, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog and Medad and Javan and Tubal and Meshach and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz and Riphtah and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elisha and Tarshish, Kittim and Dodano. By these were the isles of the Gentile divided in their land, everyone after his tongue, after their families and their nations. So right here, listen, O isles, unto me, and hearken people from far. Just talking about David is talking to the people of Japhet, right? And he said, the Lord called me from the womb, from the bowels of my mother, how he made mention of my name. So when you're going from here, right, let's go into the book of Ruth, right? And if you go from the 4th chapter, we can start right here. And this was during the time when Israel was in the wilderness. They went unto the land of Moab. And you'll see Naomi, who lost her husband Elimelech, and her 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, who traveled with Ruth and Orpah, which Naomi told both of them to go back to their people because she had no more children to give them for them to marry. In Ruth 1 and 16, Ruth said, let your people be my people and your God be my God. Ruth chose the covenant and to be a part of the people of Israel. So when a lot of people get over here and they like to say, well, they converted to being Israelite. No, they chose to accept the covenant. They still are who they are. They just chose to be a part of the covenant. Because if you look up in Exodus 12:49, God lets you know that there's a covenant for Israel and the stranger that sojourn among you. So when you look up in the book of Ruth, we can read over this and you'll see that David's name is mentioned. David is not even yet being born. And I'm going to start at verse 8. He said, therefore the kinsman, this is Ruth chapter 4, starting at verse 8. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe, and Boaz said unto the elders, and unto all the people, ye are witnesses this day, that I have bought all that was Elimelech's, all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's, of the hands of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place. Ye are witnesses this day. All the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is coming to thy house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, and do thou worthily in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare the son. And the woman said unto Naomi, blessed be the Lord, which have not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel, and he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thy old age. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, have borne him. And Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom, and became nurse unto it. And the woman's neighbor gave it a name, saying, there's a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now these are the generations of Pharez. Pharez begat Hezron, and Hezron begat Ram, and Ram begat Aminadab, and Aminadab begat Nahshon, and Nahshon begat Salmon, and Salmon begat Boaz, and Boaz begat Obed, and Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David. So right here, they is prophesying about the birth of King David. So when you look in Isaiah 49:1, listen, O owls, unto me. David is talking to the people of Japhet. Hearken, ye people from afar. The Lord have called me from the womb, from the bowels of my mother, have he made mention of my name. We just read up in the book of Ruth. See, a lot of things is what people don't unknown is about. We talking about timeline. You see what I'm saying? This was during the time that when Israel was in the wilderness, traveling from place to place, fighting against other nations. God is using Israel to overcome these people and take their land to be their land. You see what I'm saying? So whenever you look at this, look at the time frames now. Because a lot of people finna go and say, well, this was talking about Josiah. We know Josiah was prophesied in First Kings, the 13th chapter. We know that King Hezekiah was prophesied in Isaiah, the 9th chapter, 6th verse. You see what I'm saying? So we do have certain people that was prophesied. Samson was prophesied in Judges 13. But you got to understand who this thing is referring to, who is talking about, or following the timeline, right? So he said, and he have made my mouth a sharp sword, and the shadow of his hand have he hid me, and made me a polished shaft, and his quiver have he hid me, right? Referring again, it's talking about David. So the thing is, if you look through the stories about what David went through in 1 Samuel 16, David is traveling from place to place, hiding from his enemies. And it's every time you see that David running from Saul. Same thing what he did when he was running from Absalom and the book of 2 Samuel. And said unto me, thou art my servant, O Israel, in whom I will be glorified. Again, right there, we know that David is mentioned to be a servant when you look up in Psalms 89. He tells you that David is a servant. Not only is he a servant, but he's the son of God, right? Psalms 89:20 he said, I found David, my servant, with my holy oil have I anointed him. David is a servant just as well as he's the son of God, right? Then I say, I have labored in vain. I have spent my strength for naught and in vain. Yet surely my judgment is with the Lord and my works with my God. You read the book of Psalms 51. God teach David the judgment in order that he will teach Israel the law and how to live, right? So this was then I said, I have labored in vain. I have spent my strength for naught and in vain. Yet surely my judgment is with the Lord and my works with my God. So when you go into Psalm 51, this is what David is saying, right? And this was during the time when, again, Psalm 51 speaks about the time when Nathan came to David and told him that he was that man who killed Uriah and slept with Bathsheba. Psalms 51 to the chief musician, a psalm of David when Nathan the prophet came unto him after he had gone into Bathsheba, right? He said, he has labored in vain. Have mercy upon me, O God, according to thy loving kindness, according unto the multitude of thy tender mercies. Blot out my transgression. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. For I acknowledge my transgression and my sin is ever before me. Against thee only have I sinned and done this evil in thy sight, that thou mightest be justified when thou speakest and be clear when thou judgest. Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Behold, thou desirest truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden parts thou shalt make me to know wisdom. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Make me to hear joy and gladness, that the bones which thou hast broken may rejoice. Hide thy face from my sins, and blot out all my iniquities. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Cast me not away from thy presence, and take not thy Holy Spirit from me. Restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, and uphold me with thy free spirit. Watch this. This is what David said. He said, then will I teach transgressors thy ways, and sinners shall be converted unto thee. Deliver me from blood guiltiness, O God, thou God of my salvation, and my tongue shall be sing aloud of thy righteousness. O Lord, open thy lips, and my mouth shall show forth thy praise. For thou desirest not sacrifice, else would I give it. Thou delightest not in burnt offering. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and a contrite heart. O God, thou wilt not despise. Do good in thy good pleasure unto Zion. Build thou the walls of Jerusalem, then shalt thou be pleased with the sacrifices of righteousness, with burnt offering and whole burnt offering. Then shall they offer bullocks upon thy altar. If you understand this right, this is talking about David is repenting from his wrongdoing, and he repented before the Creator, God, who prophesied about David coming into this world, being famous amongst the people, that David is now given the task to bring Israel out of all this captivity from all around the world, which what Moses brought Israel out of Egypt. Now, David plays the role of Moses. Remember, God is saying that he was going to exalt David's kingdom from the rivers into the sea, which at first he was using Adam to be ruler over the entire world, but Adam failed because he ended up listening to his wife and eating of the tree of good and evil, which he was told not to. So again, when we read up in Psalms 109, last time when God said he do away with the wicked and another takes his office, these are the roles that David is playing. You see what I'm saying? So don't get this confused when you're talking about the New Testament and people referring to JC and so forth. No, because God ain't never yet been done with David. Because he told David what? He said, David, sit at my right hand while I make my enemies my footstool. And we'll see that Solomon confirms that testimony that was given in 1 Kings, the 5th chapter, 1 through 3. And then you'll see Psalm 16, where David is saying that the Most High is at his right hand. So you got to understand, and most of the time that the scriptures are given, it may mention David's name one time, and then it's going to give the obligation what that person is doing, because the fact is right here in 2 Samuel 22, David said that the heathens, when they see him, that they was going to serve him. From 2 Samuel 22, 44 through 40, from 44 through 51, we'll put it like that. So from then on, now if you read from throughout Isaiah 40, even Isaiah 40 and 10, God says, in 40 and 10, he will rule for him, right? Jeremiah 30, 1 through 9 said David is going to be a king unto Israel. Jeremiah 33, 17 said David should not want a man to sit on his throne. Ezekiel 37 through 25, it said David is going to be king. After you saying that he's joining the two kingdoms back together as one nation, the northern and the southern kingdom is now coming back as one. And David is to be ruler over them. When you see Jeremiah 23, 1 through 5, that he said that he will bring a branch unto David, right? And we talking about the righteous, the remnant of Israel. We're talking about the saints. When you look at Daniel 7, 13 through 22, the Son of Man that came to the Ancient of Days in the cloud, and power and glory was given unto him. David is given the power and glory to rule over the world. The whole entire world will be up under the covenant. And you read up in Isaiah 60, where he said, whatever nation do not come and serve, God said he will not give them rain upon their land. So I'm studying, writing down scriptures where God is talking about his obligation of what he's planning to do in the latter days. And then I'm writing down about scriptures about King David's role and his responsibilities of what his obligation is given by the Most High. When you read about in Daniel 12, a lot of people know, like it talks about the man that was clothed in linen, that's referring to King David. Because then after that, you seeing somebody's identity being hidden, right? Just like they call God the Son, they call the Most High, they call him the Ancient of Days. He's referred to as Lord. He's referred to as Redeemer, the Holy One, the Savior. All these titles is given. See, why how I figured out that it was David, and why do I feel that it's David, is because remember, the God is saying that David's kingdom is going to be exalted from the rivers into the sea, that he's going to have power over the over the whole entire world, right? So when you look at Psalms 89, 20, and 21, he said, to whom his arm shall reveal, right? Because that's the thing with in Isaiah 53 that people can keep on saying, who is the arm that is being revealed to? It's being revealed to King David. Just like when you read up and throughout Exodus 5 through 11, when every time when God had used Moses, Moses was the arm of the Most High. Because if you look at it, every time God told Moses to hold the rod a certain way, Moses brought upon Pharaoh all these different miracles. So God used Moses to deliver Israel out of Egypt. You see what I'm saying? Now you see that the arm is being revealed to King David. You're talking about the Levites, the priests. Judah is the king. Now we went from a Levite who delivered Israel out of captivity. Now I'm talking about Judah. So when you look at Genesis 49, 8 through 12, right? Judah was prophesied by Jacob from the beginning. Genesis 49, 8 through 12. Judah, thou art he, thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies. That's talking about the heathen. Like he just said up in 2 Samuel 22, 44 through 51. And then we look out through all the scriptures from Isaiah 40, 41, 42. Isaiah 43 is specifically talking about the Most High, who mentions David up in verse 10. In verse 10. And then we go into Isaiah 44 as the Most High. Isaiah 45 is talking about the prophecy of what the Most High is going to do. We're going through 46, 47. And when you look through all these prophecies, you seeing that it's talking about what God is going to do in the latter days, and then it's talking about what God is allowing David to do in the latter days. What are the responsibility and obligation? What is the task at hand to bring Israel is from their captivity and for Israel to be a nation of people again living amongst their God according to the covenant that was given back then when it came down to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who Moses made a covenant with them in Exodus 24 with the blood covenant that came upon Israel. When you sprinkle the blood upon the people, the book, and the altar. So when you look at Ezekiel 43, 19 through 27, there's an 8-day sacrifice, and then God said, I will accept you as my people again. You see what I'm saying? So this is just what Isaiah right now. Right now, writing down what the latter day prophecies is what God is going to do with our people coming out of captivity. And then what David's obligation is just as well in this latter day captivity. Because he told you look for him and look for David. So I wrote some scriptures like when you talk about majesty in Isaiah 2, you talking about what's that? The Most High and his majesty is referring to King David. He telling you about the enemies fleeing in the caves. Just what Joshua had chased the 5 kings in the cave and brought them out and hung them before the Most High and took their bodies down before the sun. You see what I'm saying? Everything repeats itself. This is why most of the time when you read the Bible, God always telling you about his glory or the things that he's done in the past. And then he'll tell you about the things what he's going to do in the future. Same thing. David speaks about all the atrocities of everything what he's been through, and then how the Most High delivered him out of his atrocities, and then what the Most High is allowing him to do in the latter days. This is how David speaks. David is the son of God now. He's speaking in the ways that the Most High would speak. But the thing is, the Most High talks about his glory, about the things that he done for Israel in the past. And then he talks about the things what he's going to do for Israel in the future. David will always refer back to what he went through and how God protected him throughout his atrocities and what the Most High is allowing him to do in his latter days, end time, right? So that's what I'm noticing with the Word of God. Now, 49:5, right? It said, "And now saith the Lord that hath formed me from the womb to be his servant and to bring Jacob again." David is to bring Israel out of his captivity. It said, "Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of the Lord, and my God shall be my strength." God is saying that he's going to use David. And if you look at Daniel 12, when he said he raised the man clothed in linen, when he raised his left hand and his right hand with strength, but not by the strength of his own, is telling that David is getting power from God to be able to give the kingdoms to the saints, and they're going to rule. They're overcoming the other nations that enslaved Israel. Now that David is the savior that's bringing Israel out of captivity, God is using David with his power and strengthening David in order to strengthen the people. Right? So this is everything. And then, like I said, watch it. He said in verse 6, 49:6, and he said, "It is a light thing that thou shouldst be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the ends of the earth." This is the Most High speaking in Isaiah 49:6. Now watch in verse 7, right? I think we're going to read down and see where the nation of Israel is mentioned in Isaiah 49, starting at verse 7. It said, "Thus saith the Lord, the Redeemer of Israel, and his Holy One to him." Right? Because they always think that, well, that's Isaiah. Well, we know Isaiah is prophesying, but Isaiah is speaking the prophecies of what the Most High is allowing him to say. And then we already heard from David in Isaiah 49, 1-5. And watch this. He said, "The nation," it said, "to him whom the nation abhorreth, to a servant of rulers, kings shall see and arise, princes, all shall worship, because of the Lord that is faithful and the Holy One of Israel, and he shall choose thee." Now, this is where Israel was mentioned, because it said that the nation abhorred to a servant of rulers. Remember, the nations have abhorred Israel. They brought them into captivity, made them servants, and they ruled over them with rigor, right? "Thus saith the Lord, in an acceptable time have I heard thee, and in the day of salvation have helped thee. And I will preserve thee and give thee for a covenant of the people, to establish the earth, to cause to inherit the desolate heritage." That's talking about Israel. "That thou mayest say to the prisoners, go forth to them that are in darkness. Show yourselves. They shall feed in the ways, and their pastures shall be in all high places." Right? "They shall not hunger nor thirst, neither shall they hurt nor sun smite them. For he have mercy on them, shall lead them, even by the springs of water shall he guide them." Remember, Moses gave Israel the water up in Meribah when he struck the rock. This is what he's talking about, giving them water again. From the springs of the water shall he guide them. And this was, we said, the springs of the Gihon River. "And I will make all my mountains a way, and my highway shall be exalted. Behold, these shall come from far, and lo, these from the north and from the west, and these from the lands of sin. All Israel coming from all places. It says, sing, O heavens, and be joyful, O earth, and break forth into singing, O mountain, for the Lord hath comforted his people and will have mercy upon his afflicted. If you notice, I think it's in Exodus 15. I believe so. Anytime the Most High had delivered Israel out of his captivity, if you notice, Moses now song praises to the Most High, along with Miriam. They song and dance. Anytime they say they was joyful and giving praise to the Most High for them delivering. And this is the same thing what David said when he was singing and give praise to the Most High amongst the heathen, what we just read in 2 Samuel 22, verse 50. So you see what I'm saying? Everything is a repeat. It's all over again. Ecclesiastes 1 says things that we never seen before, but it happened before our time. You see what I'm saying? So, but Zion said, the Lord hath forsaken me, and my Lord hath forgotten me. Right? Can a woman forget her sucking child that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Ye they may forget, yet will I not forget thee. Behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hand, thy walls are continually before me. Thy children shall make haste, thy destroyers and they that made thee waste shall go forth of thee. Lift up thy eyes round about and behold all these. Gather themselves together and come to thee as I live, saith the Lord. Thou shalt surely clothe thee with them all as with an ornament and bind them on thee as a bride do it. Now, if you notice, anytime that when you're talking about the ornaments, we're talking about the regalias, we're talking about the garments, or what the priest wore, about what the king wore. That what they was told when you read up in Exodus 28, when God told Moses to put the ephod, the breastplates, and so forth. This is what you're talking about with the ornaments and bind thee upon thee as a bride doeth. Israel will be a people amongst the Creator that He will accept us again. Well, again, like what I told you in Ezekiel 43:19 through 27. And the children which thou shalt have after thou hast lost the other shall say again in thy ears, a place is too strait for me. Give place to me that I may dwell. Then shalt thou say in thy heart, who have begotten me? These, seeing I have lost my children and am desolate, a captive and fro, who have brought up these. Behold, I was left alone, these where they have been. Thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will lift up my hand to the Gentiles, and set up my standards to the people, and they shall bring thy sons in thy arms, and thy daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. And kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queens thy nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee with their face toward the earth, and lick up the dust of thy feet. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. Shall the prey be taken from the mighty, or the lawful captive delivered? But thus saith the Lord, even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered. For I will contend with them that contended with thee. Now God is bringing judgment that He's going to fight against the people that oppressed us. That He say He's going to contend with them that contended with us. And I will save thy children. Verse 26 and say, I will feed them that oppress thee with their own flesh, and they shall be drunken with their own blood. As sweet wine, and all flesh shall know that I, the Lord, am thy Savior and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. Now, when you see this right here, right, in Isaiah 34, God said that when Israel is no longer cursed, that He said He will now bring curses upon the Gentiles in Isaiah 34:5, right? So this is say He said they would bring wine, Isaiah 49:26 right here. He said, I will feed them that oppress thee with their own flesh, and they shall be drunken with their own blood. Just like how the people killed us. Now the nations is fighting against nations. And if you look throughout the book of Amos, God tell you all the nations that's fighting against one another, and he tell them why. And then he tell you how he's going to do it, right? So watch this. I will feed them that oppress thee with their own flesh, and they shall be drunken with their own blood, with sweet wine, and all flesh shall know that I, the Lord, am their Savior and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. Now watch this in Amos, right? These the nations fighting against themselves, right? Amos, everybody that oppressed Israel is now warring with one another, just like Russia is fighting against Ukraine, and they are the same people, brother against brother. When he said neighbor go against neighbor, this is Amos 1. The words of Amos, who was among the herdsmen of Tekoa, which he saw concerning Israel in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel, 2 years before the earthquake. And he said, the Lord will roar from Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the habitation of the shepherds shall mourn, and the top Carmel shall wither. Thus saith the Lord, for three transgressions. Remember, God always comes from the third and fourth generation, according to the law in Exodus 20, verse 4, 5, and 6. Thou shalt not make any graven image, any image that's in the heavens above, and the earth beneath, and the waters under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down to them nor serve them, for I, the Most High, am a jealous God, visiting iniquity of the fathers to the children of the 34th generation, them that hate me, and show mercy to thousands of them that love me. So when you see right there, when you talk about the generations, he's saying about the third and fourth generation. Watch this. He said from three transgression of Damascus and for four. He's talking about the third and fourth generation. I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they have threshed Gilead, and with threshing instruments of iron. I will send a fire into the house of Hazael, which shall devour the palaces of Benhadad. Two nations fighting against each other, what we read up in Isaiah 49 and 26. I will break also the bars of Damascus, and cut off the inhabitants from the plains of Avon, and him that holdeth the scepter from the house of Eden, and the people of Syria shall go into captivity unto Cush, saith the Lord. These are brothers fighting against brothers, right? Thus saith the Lord, for three transgressions of Gaza, and for four, third and fourth generation, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they carried away captives the whole captivity, to deliver them up to Edom. But I will send a fire on the walls of Gaza, which shall devour the palaces thereof. And I will cut off the inhabitants from Ashdod, and him that holdeth the scepter from Ashkelon, and I will turn my hand against Ekron, and the remnant of the Philistines shall perish, saith the Lord God. Everything from third and fourth generation, neighbor fighting against neighbor, brother against brother. Just like what happened with us when Israel was fighting against one another, Rehoboam fought against Jeroboam. Even though they were from different tribes, they still from the same nation. They still considered brothers, right? So when you look at that, that's God's judgment against the whole world that enslaved Israel and brought them into captivity and oppressed them. You see what I'm saying? So this is what we're dealing with. David is now doing the work of Moses. We're not talking about reincarnations. Get that out your mind, because a lot of people say about the spirit of Moses and so forth. That's another thing what people talk about. We talking about God said, if you were what? Deuteronomy 30:19, I have called heaven and earth to record against you blessing and cursing, life and death. Choose life that thou and thy seed may live. Meaning that if you choose life to live according to the laws and commandments of the Creator, God said that your soul shall live. You see what I'm saying? So with that being said, a lot of people again things construed with the New Testament being involved. And I know a lot of people don't like that, but the thing is, you got to understand. If you say that you Israel, one of the curses that God said that you was going to serve your enemies, and you was going to serve their God wood and stone. So I actually wrote some notes about the wood and the stones. And if you look up in Second Kings, Sennacherib said that every country has its own God. So we ain't talking about what people think that Christ is the Son of God. The Most High told you who his son is. Psalms 89 and 27, David will be considered his firstborn. Everybody like to manipulate the scriptures, but if you keep everything in the process of the timeline and know what it's referring to, people can go back and tell you that everything repeats itself, which it does. But the thing is, even after David died, once Solomon became king, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Micah, Hosea, all these people, Malachi is still prophesying about David's return. Then you see the obligation and responsibilities given to him by the Most High, or what David's responsibilities are, what his task is. People don't believe in resurrection. I have wrote scriptures down about God bringing people back. When you read Isaiah 6 about Uzziah, his spirit, you're talking about Daniel is to come back. Isaiah 26 and 19, David, who else? Prince Michael was an angel, so forth. Read those scriptures and understand that God said, well, in Job 38, he said, is there anything hard that the Most High can't do? And see, a lot of people don't believe in restoration. And the reason why I believe in restoration, because the fact is this, right? If God can create this world and create a man and make him dead and bring him back, who can say that God can't do as far as bringing people back? You see what I'm saying? Remember Deuteronomy 32 and 39, what God says, right? Deuteronomy 32, verse 39. Uh, the Most High says right here, he says, see now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. So the thing is this, people might say, well, that's something that's impossible. But the thing is, how did you get here? And then we know that it started from the first man, that God created a man and a woman. In order for them to be able to bear children, they had to have sex. And it goes from one generation into the next, that we see that the world is being populated by just by one man and one woman. And spread it out from throughout the whole entire world. That man and woman has studying repopulate the earth. See, the thing is this, right? Once the Most High has done all that he's done, now God uses men to do his will. Because first it was what? God said he used the angels. He said his spirit. Everything he spoke through mouth, it came about. You see what I'm saying? So understand what God can do. And if you don't believe that, then hey, that's so be you. I believe that if God created the first man, was and the first woman was made us and so forth, I have no problem believing that God can bring back, because he still say that we are here this day. I mean, Ecclesiastes 4 and 10. So, uh, with that being said, I still got more scriptures I'm writing out about the Most High and King David. what is to take place in the future. And also doing this, right? This is the law that I'm studying, that what God tells us how to understand his laws, right? According to the book of Deuteronomy 6, verse 17 and 18, it says, Ye shall diligently keep the laws and the testimony and the commandments which I command you. And then ye shall do what's right and good in the sight of the Lord, that it may be well with thee, that ye may go and possess the land which I have sworn unto your fathers. According to what the law is written, according to Moses, which was given by God. Isaiah repeated and reiterated Isaiah 8 and 20, to the law and to the testimony. They speak not of these words because there's no light in them. And that's just how we understand the laws of God. According to laws and testimonies, we'll be able to make righteous decision of what we said up in Deuteronomy 30, verse 19. And with this, it says the law right here in Deuteronomy 7, verse 25 and 26. The graven images of that God shall ye burn with fire. Thou shalt not desire the silver or gold that is on them, nor take it unto thee, lest it be let it is an abomination to the Most High, thy God. Neither shalt thou bring an abomination into thy house, lest thou be a cursed thing like it, but thou shalt utterly detest it, and thou shalt utterly abhor it, for it is a cursed thing. Right? So Deuteronomy 13 and 17, and there shall cleave not the cursed thing to thy hand, that the Most High may turn from thee the fierceness of his anger, and show thee mercy, and have compassion upon thee, and multiply thee as he hath sworn unto thy fathers. Leviticus verse 27, chapter 27, verse 28 and 29. Notwithstanding, no devoted thing that a man shall devote unto the Most High of all that he hath, both of a man and beast and of the fields of his possessions shall be sold or redeemed. Every devout thing is most holy unto the Most High. None devoted which shall be devoted of men shall be redeemed, but shall surely be put to death. Right? So with this law right here, God says, when you overtake these nations, right? He said, not to desire the silver or gold that is on them, nor take it unto thee, lest it be an abomination unto the Most High. Neither shalt thou bring an abomination into thy house, lest thou be a cursed thing like it, but thou shalt utterly detest it, and thou shalt utterly abhor it. It is a cursed thing. Now, watch this testimony according to the law. Because again, the law says in Deuteronomy 6, verse 17 and 18, Ye shall diligently keep the law and the testimony and the commandments which I command you, and then ye shall do what's right and good in the sight of the Lord, that it may be well with thee, that ye may go and possess the land which I have sworn unto your fathers. So according to the law in Deuteronomy 7 and 25, verse 26, this is a testimony what we said right here. Let's go to, I say, Joshua 6, 17, or so forth. And the city shall be accursed, even it and all that are therein. To the Most High, only Rahab the harlot shall live, she and all that are with her in the house, because she hid the messenger that we sent. And ye in any wise keep yourselves from the accursed thing, lest you make yourself accursed when you take of the accursed thing and make the camp of Israel accursed and trouble it. But all the silver and gold and vessel of the brass and iron are consecrated unto the Most High. They shall come into the treasury of the Most High. So the people shouted when the priest blew with the trumpets, and it came to pass when the people heard the sounds of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him. They took the city, and they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both men and women, young and old, ox and sheep, and ass with the edge of the sword. But Joshua had said unto the two men that had spied out the country, go into the harlot's house and bring out thence the woman and all that she had, as you swear unto her. And the young men that were spies went in and brought out Rahab and her father and her mother and her brethren and all that she had, and they brought out all her kindred and left them without the camp of Israel. And they burnt the city with fire and all that was therein, only the silver and gold and the vessels of brass and of iron they put into the treasury of the house of God. Now, right here, that was a testimony according to the law. And Deuteronomy 7, verse 25. And then you can read in Joshua 7 when we see right here, it says in Joshua 7, but the children of Israel committed a trespass in the accursed things for Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took the accursed things, and the anger of the Most High was kindled against the children of Israel. And Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Bethel, on the east side of Bethel, and spake unto them, saying, go up and view the country. And the men went up and viewed Ai. And they returned to Joshua and said unto him, let not all the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and smite Ai, and make not all the people to labor thither, for they are but few. So they went up thither of the people about 3,000 men, and they fled before the men of Ai. And the men of Ai smote of them about 36 men, for they chased them from before the gate even unto Shabbarim, and smote them in the going down, wherefore the hearts of the people melted and became as water. And Joshua rent his clothes and fell to the earth upon his face before the ark of the Most High until the eventime, and the elders of Israel and put dust upon their heads. And Joshua said, alas, O Yah God, wherefore hast thou at all brought this people over Jordan to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites to destroy us? Would to God we had been content and dwelt on the other side of Jordan. O Yah, what shall I say when Israel turn their backs before their enemies? For the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land shall hear of it, and shall um, it shall environ us around, encamp us around, and cut off our name from the earth. And what wilt thou do unto thy great name? And the Most High said unto Joshua, get thee up, wherefore liest thou thus upon thy face? Israel have sinned, and they also transgressed my covenant, which I commanded them, for they have even taken of the accursed things, that have also stolen and dissembled also, and they have put it even among their own stuff. So this is letting you know that when Akan had went and stole all the silver and gold and everything, and hid it under his tent, God said he wasn't going to fight for them because of the fact that this man had broke this law. And then they didn't warn them that the things that he was doing was wrong. And Khan had to be burned, and not only him, but his family as well, because of what they did. So according to the laws in Deuteronomy 6, verse 17 and 18, you shall diligently keep the law and testimony and the commandment which I command you, and then you shall do what's good and right in the sight of the Lord, that it may be well with thee, that ye may go and possess the land which I have sworn unto your father. These are the testimony according to the good and the evil, to the laws of Deuteronomy 7, verse 25 and 26. So I want to end this video. I think brothers and sisters that was out and that watched the video, uh, yep, that's true, brother Glenn. Yeah. Um, uh, Next time I would like to do a question and answer in the room. If anybody wouldn't mind joining, I will send a link out, and feel free to join in, that we can have a discussion and talk according to the words of God. And Isaiah 34 and 16, seek ye out of the book of the Lord, and read, and none shall fail, for it shall not want its meaning, for he has commanded, and the Spirit has guided him. So I pray that one day that we be able to come together and talk again. I thank brothers and sisters for listening in, and hopefully we could get some participation next time. So with that, I like to um, say loud, what David said, praise y'all. And I hope we see y'all again on this next video. Uh, Later.